our book. Yo, HelloFresh and fucking DoorDash really want that fucking sale. What does this have to do with the book? I bought this book on Amazon, and here comes HelloFresh and DoorDash with their damn coupons inside a package. This is a Bhagavad Gita, bro. Fuck does a DoorDash have to date? Yeah, they hungry, bro. They hungry. Speaking of food, bro, they're hungry. Humans weren't made to live in city life permanently. If you're gonna have children, it's best you live in a rural area instead of living suburban or urban. Like where I'm living right now, it's suburban. Means I go outside, house, 719, 720, 721, 718, address. And there's a whole bunch of houses and a sidewalk, a clean, nice sidewalk. Humans were not made to live there. If you're gonna have children, don't birth them in suburban areas or urban areas. Go to rural, go to farmland. City life was made, I'm gonna classify city life as this, right? I'm gonna give the definition of city life. Urban areas, it means like Bronx, Brooklyn, and then there's suburban areas. You got like Los Angeles, Miami, Florida. These are suburban, where there's a city and there's skyscrapers or apartment buildings. This is suburban or urban. Classify that in one word: city life. And then we have rural, which is farmland or village. There are villages anywhere where there's cows roaming, and you can just go and like touch the cows or horses. That's rural. Humans were not made to be raised in city life. So if you have a child and you really care for the child, there's people who say they care, but they only want the child to do what they want to have. Like, you send a child to school, you want the child to make a good living, to take care of you. It's greedy. If you really care for the child, you gotta make money enough to move your ass to rural areas. Because fundamentally, city life was made to make money. Why do we all live so close to each other? Packed. Because you have more opportunity to provide a service and you can make more money. So that's the only real purpose of city life. There's no other purpose. You have more opportunity to provide a service and in exchange get a good that you need back, money. So make your money, move your ass to a rural area, and enjoy all the comforts and pleasures that you enjoy in city life. You love TV, move your ass to a farmland, get electricity running there, put a TV there. You'll get bored of the TV. If you don't have children, don't have sex until you have enough money to move to rural, then have children. If you already messed up, then use your city life to your advantage, make money, and get out. Once you live in a city, once you live in a rural area, then have another one. If you love children. Because some people are tired, they don't want that. But ultimately, humans are not made to live the city life. Because what's going to happen, right? In a rural area, it means farmland, you're going to have so much entertainment and so much fulfillment from just living on the farmland. You don't really need a phone. You don't need a television. You'll have it, you won't use it. But if you're living inside a city house, this house I'm living right now is not enough stimulation on my brain for me to sit happily. So what do? I grab my phone. I go on the computer. However, computer is there's a gray area in the computer, because even if I was on farmland, I would have a computer just for the purpose of making music, because now everything is digital. But if I had an analog board, then I might not use the computer as much. So there's a gray area. So I won't put computer there. However, kids playing video games, going on Steam, that's what I'm talking about. The reason why we have to entertain ourselves with technology is because we're not living in rural areas. Cities were made for money. They weren't made for living. it's a temporary area where you settle down just so you can accumulate your wealth to get going to where you need to live. That's what cities were made for. No one is fulfilled living in cities. No one is fulfilled living in cities. You're always looking for something new. Like you yourself, if you're living in a city, you yourself feel there's something I need. Because you're not made to live in a city. It's because the city is meant to achieve something. It's a means and end. City itself was made to achieve something. So when you're living in it, you're always gonna feel, I need that. Understand? Understand that. City, make your money, and if you're planning on having children, don't have them in the city. If you already have them, then it's whatever. I was born in a fucking city. And I'm telling you, my life right now is technology. Like my life is technology. Like just technology. Like you're not made to be raised in a city. City is there for you to surround yourself with a whole bunch of human beings. You can provide a service. Return, you get money, you get a lot of wealth. And then with that wealth, move to fucking farmland. You won't lose anything. People be like, oh, farmland, but it's so primitive. You're not gonna lose nothing, bro. There's TV on farmland. There's iPhone, there's internet there. And there's a lot of people. Like if you wanted to live with a lot of people. Children were not made to be raised in city life. If you're raising your children in city life, you're making a mistake. It's a mistake. Not a sin, but it's a mistake. Because human beings were not made to be raised there. Because there's not enough stimulation going on from the world to keep us fulfilled. So then we start looking in other things. Whether it's iPhone, drugs, sex with random people, all of this because city life is not stimulating enough. It's perfectly clean and organized. Like, there's lawns that are like 50 by 50 feet of just grass. 50 feet of grass is all you get as a human being. That is not enough. You need a whole acres of nature to keep you stimulated and fulfilled. Otherwise, you'll be looking for something else. So children, if you give birth to children in city life, they are bound to be on their phones and tablets. There's nothing that can be done. You cannot do anything to avoid children using tablets, phone, Miss Rachel, YouTube, Coco Melon, all of that. If you're born in a city life, your life is this forever. As long as you're living in city life, you're going to need the screen to stimulate your brain. But if you were born in a rural area, farmland where there's cows and you hear fucking chickens, then you won't need the phone as much. You might use it occasionally, but then you just throw it like another toy and then just go run around. People be like, oh, kids these days, they don't go outside. There's nothing outside. There is nothing outside. Nothing outside, bro. You're living in a city life. For one purpose it was made, to live with a whole bunch of people and provide a service. There is nothing else. It's for money. Oh, but we can run and play football. That's it. There's nothing outside that's more stimulating than the phone in city life. iPhone, weed, alcohol are much more stimulating than playing outside. To a kid, a fucking puff pot is much more entertaining than running outside with their friends in city life. Because all it is just pavement. A few trees, even planted organized on a sidewalk. One tree here, every 20 feet, another tree. Every 20 feet, another tree of the same type of tree. Like, what do you expect? Your children is going to run into fucking drugs, is going to be addicted to the phone, is going to be always on the screen. There's nothing avoiding of it. So the only solution is, if you have not have children, don't have sex until you make enough money to live on farmland, which is actually cheaper than living in the city life. But if you want to have options, make enough money to where you can live on farmland 1 year, live in the city for a few months, back to the farmland. Otherwise, your children is not gonna live a fulfilled life, and you're not gonna like it because he's gonna want to do his own thing instead of what you want him to do. Yeah, it's a choice. Having children is a choice. Like, you can choose to wait 5 years. You can choose to not have sex. It's not even about not having sex, but it greatly reduces the odds because a lot of birth is accidental. And then once that children is born in city life, he's on his own, bro. You can't make him do what he wants, what you want him to do. But in a rural life, completely fulfilling. Like, you don't need alcohol because outside, all the grass, all the sunlight, all the fucking cows, horses, whatever they're taking care of. It can be anything. I'm using such a generic way of describing it, but there's so much in rural life that can entertain you in 1 hour. They won't need drugs. They won't need alcohol. They won't need fucking puff pods, geek bars, Instagram. Modern day, the biggest entertainer, the biggest drug, it's Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you're in a city life, you're bound to fall into it because there's nothing in living this little house. You go outside, you work, most likely inside a building, not even outside. Rare people work in construction. Rarely people work in construction and outside life. And then you come back inside to your car, which is inside, not a lot of stimulation, drive, come back inside a home. You're going to go on your phone. There's nothing to be done about it. I had a dream, and inside that dream, I was scrolling on my phone. Like, that's how much I'm on the phone. I started to stop. I'm like, I took a break. I'm like, no more. Settle down a little bit. See, computers, they're good to make music, but I'm not gonna have the phone scrolling when I'm not entertained by something. Like, imagine that, bro. A dream is you creating a world. You create a world, anything you want to see, you create. And even that you're bored of and you don't want to pay attention to and you're scrolling. Like, it's city life. It's city life. I have no one to blame but city life. Because even if I were to, people always be like, go outside a little, take a walk. It'll help. But to what extent? You go outside and walk for an hour. Even that's a lot. It's a long walk. An hour or two. You come back where? Inside, where there's not a lot of stimulation. Oh, pick up a book. Even worse. And I'm talking about, I bought a book. Even worse, there's less stimulation. So then after like an hour reading the book, you're like, I need something. City life was not made to be lived. If you're planning on having children and you're living in a city, suburban, urban, it's not good. It's not good because that child is just going to grow up to distract himself, herself, itself, instead of living fulfilled. And if you already have a child and you give birth, understand that you cannot stop the children from distracting themselves. You cannot stop them from being addicted to the phone. You cannot stop them from being addicted to the computer. You probably cannot even stop them from doing drugs in the future. Because city life is not stimulating enough for a human being to live in permanently. As a temporary stay to make money, great. Amazing. You can set up a little shop right there on the main street. Get 100 customers fucking every 3 hours. Make great money. Much more than you would physically working on farmland. And then you go live on farmland. Now, if you use your brain to provide a service, then there's no limit. There's no limit. You don't need to be living in a city life. But if you use your body to provide a service, then there's a limit. You need to live in a city life, and there's not enough stimulation to fulfill you or children, especially children, and you're gonna need distractions. And distraction comes in all forms: sex, porn, drugs. Mine, specifically for me, because I am very stern on keeping myself healthy, my distraction is technology, which is, of distractions, the best, because not destructive physically, and you can use it for good, but distractions are distractions. On a rural life, I would not be scrolling, and I said on a city, I wouldn't. I'd be outside. There's not enough stimulation to go out, to be outside in a city life. People be like, oh, just go outside. Not enough stimulation. Not enough. Everybody used to be like, I'll tell you, everybody who grew up back in the day before technology, like, oh, everybody used to run outside. We all had fun, as children. What are you doing now? If you're still living in the city, what are you doing now? On fucking technology, distracting yourself. Back then, it was like that. The same people who back then were not so distracting themselves, now they are. Why? Because you're in city life. If you're in city life, you're bound to distract yourself some way, because it's not enough stimulation for the human brain. This world, this planet Earth, this nature is infinite. Infinite stuff is going on every second. If you go to a rural land, like a farmland, cowland, it might look like there's nothing going on outside. But if you live it, you see there's so much going on. It's too much to fulfill you. You can stay happily on farmland and be entertained without a phone. Happily. But in city life, it's nothing. There's not enough. That is the definition of city life. Not enough. If you live in city life, you always feel not enough, because that's the purpose. You come to one spot to achieve something more. So if you live in the spot that's made to achieve something more, you're always going to feel, I need to achieve something. I am not fulfilled right now. That's the purpose. The purpose of a car was to drive, not to stay still. The purpose of a car was to drive, to move. So when you're inside a car, you're always going to feel, we need to move. You cannot meditate inside a car, and you won't want to. Because the purpose of the car was meant for movement. Same way, you cannot settle in a city life. Because the purpose of a city life, to achieve something. You're living with a whole bunch of people. Thousands of people within like a 2-mile radius. The only purpose is to provide a service to get something back. And even then, it's in apartment complexes, which is completely unnatural, inside a square box. Inside of that, hardwood floor, and it's like painted with fucking, like acrylic paint or some, whatever the material. It's unnatural, and it's only made to temporarily keep your body alive and comfortable to provide a service to get it back. But the real life, real settling down, having children, have a few decades relax, is on a rural land where there's a whole bunch of animals that you don't even fucking speak their language. Cow. If you don't like cows, dogs. If you don't like dogs, birds, which is not in your control. Luckily, there's a lot of stuff that's not in your control. Birds, fly, parrots, all of this shit. And even if somebody were to take your advice, not your advice, take people's advice, oh, just go outside in city life. What if you're living in New Jersey? I'm living in New Jersey. We can only go outside what? And stay hours there for what? From fucking like May until October, because it gets cold. And we're like, nah, fuck that. You know that. you know. But if you're in a rural area, there are a lot of farmlands in New Jersey that snows, and there's cows, and they live. So it's not cold that's the problem. It's environment. Environment is the problem. If you're living in a city life, cold will instigate you to come inside. Like, no, I'd rather be inside this comfortable little room. Why the fuck I'm gonna do out there cold, bro? I got heater. But if you're in a rural area, you have your house. You're not gonna have a house. You're not gonna live homeless. You have a house. You have your room. You have your comfortable heated room with a fireplace if you want, or if you just want actual radiators, a radiator. But you'd be like, cows. Cows look nice. Look at this, all this snow. The snow looks great. Let's just be outside. So, city life is not meant to settle down. If you want children, wait until you have enough money to live on farmland and live there. Or a village. Villages are also fine, which is basically farmland but a civilization around it. Villages are farmland with civilization. Like, you have 50 families of people in nature, which is rare to find. So it's best to live in a rural area. Because if you have children in a city life, they are going to grow up distracted. Because there's not enough stimulation for the human body and human brain to entertain itself and feel fulfilled. So it starts looking outside, whether it's through Miss Rachel on the phone, Netflix, TikTok, or other human beings. Miss Rachel physically having interactions with Rachel, and drugs. Because city life is not enough to entertain you and keep you fulfilled. Now I make music, and I need a digital computer. Farmland is not stopped at. People probably think farmland, oh, there's no internet. What the fuck are you saying, bro? Internet has nothing to do with city. So yeah, if I was on farmland, I'd still have a computer. I'd still have an iPhone. I'd still have a microphone. I still have internet. But I won't be using it the way I use it today, to distract myself from the fact that there's not a lot going on in my life because I'm inside this box, and I'm also inside an environment, a city, which has thousands of boxes and thousands of people living in the boxes. So, human beings were made to live rurally. If you want children and you're not a greedy bastard and you actually care to take care of the children, wait until you have enough freedom to live on rural land, which is actually cheaper than living in a city. But if you want the option of both, wait until you have enough money to live on rural land. Give birth to 50 children if you want. Have fun, live life, enjoy, celebrate, and die a good life, feeling this life is great. Otherwise, depression is creeping up in the city life because city is made for money and money is non-existent. See you later.